Chapter 859. Swish. Luo Qingtong's figure rushes towards the place where Yin Yang and the rest are. Before Yin Yang came to the Blackfield's main city of the Empire of Qin, she told her where the place is. Luo Qingtong's figure quickly appears in front of that huge building. That place is located in the center of the Blackfield's main city of the Empire of Qin. There are people coming and going all around, all of whom are here to buy elixirs and medicinal liquids. Luo Qingtong will provide Yin Yang with a batch of medicinal liquids every once in a while, and it depends on whether she is willing to accept the elixirs or not. If she is willing to accept the elixirs, she will let the people of the Blackfield give it to Yin Yang after refining it. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Seeing Luo Qingtong's figure appear, there is a burst of low cries from all around. Master. Seeing Luo Qingtong appear, the battle slave experts who are responsible for guarding the shop are pleasantly surprised. A group of people is walking into the shop. At this moment, a burst of noise suddenly comes from the front of the shop. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Along with these rough voices, a group of fully armed soldiers with incomparably cold auras suddenly pass through the shop opened by Yin Yang and the rest. Humph! What evil Dr. Ghost Eye's medicinal liquids, what unparalleled medical skills. The medicinal liquids sold in our Martial King's shop are not inferior to this at all. What evil doctor name, it's just a bluff. That's right. Get out of the way, a group of people who don't know what is good and what is bad. They are really blind. A large group of soldiers swaggered through the shop. A battle slave expert looks and immediately says angrily, "These bastards, it's starting again." The other people also have a burst of anger on their faces. Luo Qingtong looks and asks, "What's going on?" It was obvious that those soldiers were here to deal with him. Or it could be said that they are targeting Yin Yang and the rest. Master, you don't know. After we came to the Empire of Qin's Blackfield, the Empire of Qin's King Wu also started selling medicinal liquids in the Blackfield. It's not far from the left side of our shop. A battle slave expert raised his hand and pointed at a majestic and splendid building not far away. Their shops aren't inferior to ours, and the medicinal liquids they sell are also similar. Ever since they started selling medicinal liquids, soldiers from the army would often come to cause trouble, saying that your medicinal liquids can't compare to the medicinal liquids bought from their shops. When the battle slave expert said this, he was extremely angry. These soldiers were clearly using their master's reputation as a stepping stone to climb up the ranks. They were trying to increase the reputation of their shop's medicinal liquid. It was simply infuriating. However, they didn't come to cause trouble. They only said disgusting things outside, and the Blackfield couldn't do anything about it. Coming here a few times a day, it was really disgusting. King Wu of the Empire of Qin? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. No matter how she looked at it, the other party seemed to be deliberately competing with Yin Yang and the rest. And it was in a way that trampled on her reputation. Was it a coincidence, or? Luo Qingtong slightly squints her eyes. At this moment, Yin Yang and the rest came out to greet her. Master. Luo Qingtong looks at the group of stewards behind her and raises her eyebrows. Are you discussing something? If it's very important, don't worry about me. I'll wait outside for a while. It's fine. Yin Yang shakes her head and lets the group of stewards leave first. It's about King Wu of the Empire of Qin. I haven't figured it out yet. Yin Yang says and then asks, Master, are you here for the matter of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin? She wanted to see how long he, the king of martial arts of the Empire of Qin, could cover the sky with one hand and run amok. Yes. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Yin Yang hurriedly responded happily. She had just gathered everyone to discuss for a long time, but they still couldn't come up with a good way to deal with the Empire of Qin's King Wu. After all, the other party's influence in the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty wasn't weak. When the crown prince was depressed, he was like the sun in the sky. In the future, the Empire of Qin's crown prince might be this person. In the situation where the other party didn't directly cause trouble, even if Yin Yang had Luo Qingtong's platinum token in her hands, it wouldn't be good for Luo Qingtong to directly make such an enemy. In particular, she was afraid that others would say that they used the platinum token to do whatever they wanted, and she was afraid that it would bring trouble to Luo Qingtong. But now, it seemed that Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid at all. Following such a domineering master, Yin Yang only felt an indescribable exultation in her heart. Chapter 861. Yin Yang was indeed clever. Her methods were superb. She quickly thought of a way to carry out Luo Qingtong's orders better. Tomorrow, I will invite the main city of the Empire of Qin's Blackfield to come as guests. At that time, I will invite the people of the Empire of Qin's King of Wu to come and abuse us. The rest will naturally be decided by the people of the Black Field and the Empire of Qin. After Yin Yang finished speaking, Luo Qingtong immediately glanced at her. What a good plan to kill with a borrowed knife. If the people of the Empire of Qin's King of Wu really fell into this pit, they really wouldn't be able to climb up. At that time they could only obediently come and apologize. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's side could refuse to accept it. She would first tidy up the people of the Empire of Qin's King of Wu. At that time, when the king of the Empire of Qin appeared, she would properly tidy up the other side. Not only was she in the right, but she also vented her anger. Such a clever mind. She could see through it with just a little bit. Who knows what family Yin Yang was from? Luo Qingtong didn't think that ordinary people in the marketplace could have such superb skills and communication skills. She and Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead's identity was definitely not ordinary. However, this had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. As long as they were loyal to her, she would protect them. In the future, if they wanted to take revenge, they would take revenge. If they didn't want to take revenge, they would live under her wings. As long as they were loyal to her, she would naturally give them stability. As for their private matters, Luo Qingtong wouldn't ask anything. Who didn't have their own secrets? Luo Qingtong nodded. Okay. We will do as you say. If you encounter such a situation in the future, you can make your own arrangements. You don't need to worry about me. If you really feel that it's hard to choose, just send me a message. Also, Luo Qingtong's hands were lightly clasped together. Her 10 fingers were intertwined, and her fingers were lightly tapping the back of her hand. Pay attention to any news about this heavenly doctor at all times. If there's even the slightest bit of news, let me know. This person had repeatedly clashed with Luo Qingtong. What happened in the Great Chu Imperial Palace could still be considered an accident. However, the main city of the Black region in the Great Chu dynasty was obviously here for her. Moreover, she seemed to have improper thoughts about Yi Qianxian. This time, he appeared in the Empire of Qin's holy dynasty and stood behind King Wu of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. For some reason, she thought of King Ning of the Great Chu sacred dynasty. The latter had also used the hands of the heavenly doctor to poison Empress Dowager Yanxi of Great Chu. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong going to find old man Luo at that time, Empress Dowager Yanxi would have been plotted against. At that time, the Great Chu dynasty could only be controlled by King Ning. And now, the Empire of Qin's King Wu and the Crown Prince were fighting for the throne. Behind this, there was also the figure of this heavenly doctor. This matter couldn't help but be thought-provoking. Luo Qingtong thought of when she met Crown Prince Ma Chenyi before. The latter's body had the aura of a dying dragon. The technique of seizing luck. It couldn't be this heavenly doctor's doing, right? If this was the case, she would have to become enemies with her again. After all, the Crown Prince had given her medicine before, and that bloodline power fusion technique was enough to make Luo Qingtong take action for him. If this heavenly doctor was behind this, Luo Qingtong would have to confront her again. Thinking so, the corners of Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curled up. Yes. Yin Yang nodded. Now, tell me about the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy. What's going on? Who sent you the news? The Grand Dean? A group of people stood at the entrance of the Sky Hall's dormitory and were being pointed at by passers-by. Look, it's just a group of people. Other than that Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju who have some talent, the others are trash who might not even be able to enter the Earth stage. I heard that there are 2 who might not even be able to enter the profound stage, but they shamelessly went through the back door and entered our heavenly palace. The most shameless one is their so-called boss, Luo Qingtong. Not only did she go through the back door, she even took an inch and wanted a mile. She took a few months of leave and still hasn't returned. Don't you think it's disgusting? A group of people pointed at Xuanhu and the others, causing them to be furious. You're talking nonsense. Our boss is the most powerful. She didn't go through the back door. Little tyrant Yuan was the first to be unable to take it and shouted angrily. Chapter 863. Do you really think no one knows who Luo Qingtong is? Su Jinhue sneered and walked over with a group of people. She didn't even look at little tyrant Yuan and the others. She's just the daughter of an inferior country. Even if she has some strength and talent, she's nothing more than that. How dare you brag about her so much? Do you really think that senior brother will give you a way out just because she's here? Stop joking. Su Jinhue looked very proud and pleased. Senior brother didn't break off the engagement with her just because he pitied her. Who knows what means she used to make senior brother unable to break off the engagement with her. However, as a woman, Luo Qingtong is extremely stupid. She actually helped you deal with senior brother. Does she think that by doing this, senior martial brother will look at her? Speaking of this, Su Jinyue sneered. However, it's useless. Senior brother doesn't like her. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. This is the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, not the Black Field. As she spoke, she immediately led a group of people and proudly walked past little Overlord Yuan and the others. Lu Long, you will replace them as Heaven Stage students in the future. This is the decision and recommendation of the Dragon Regiment of the Heavenly Palace. It has been approved by the Elders Guild and no one can doubt it. Those who doubt it can go to the Dragon Regiment to argue. See if you have the ability to do so. Hearing Su Jinyue's words, Ling Tianhan, who had been lowering his head in shame and guilt, suddenly raised his head. Long. His gaze was fixed on the other party. It was this person who had joined forces with others to break his right hand after he entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. He knew the injury of his hand like the back of his hand. He knew where the injury on his right hand was the deepest. Even if it was healed, it wasn't as strong as the other parts of his hand. Ling Tianhan still remembered the sneer that Lu Long had when he broke his hand and told him that he was the one who came up with the idea of breaking his right hand to restrict the strength of the Ling family. Ling Tianhan, don't think that just because the Ling family has the support of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, you can rest easy. So what if you become the new royal family of the Qianyu Empire? The fifth prince has already set his sights on the entire Empire of Qin. He would even become an important figure under His Highness King Wu. When I graduate from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin in the future, the Empire of Qianyu can never compare with me. What's more, if the fifth prince is able to stand out in the grand meeting half a year later, even evil Dr. Ghost Eye won't be able to do anything to him. Your Ling family should just wait for his revenge obediently. Today's move is just an appetizer. Lu Long's words flashed through Ling Tianhan's mind, and he almost lost control and rushed over. The latter looked at him and sneered, "What? Ling Tianhan, you're not convinced? Unfortunately, what can you do even if you're not convinced? After tomorrow, you and that Luo Qingtong will be kicked out of the house. I'd like to see how pathetic you are then. It's a pity that Luo Qingtong, she betrayed us and helped others to deal with the fifth prince. If she were here, we would teach her a lesson." Chapter 864. As the group of people spoke, they laughed loudly and proudly walked away in front of Ling Tianhan and the others. Looking at their departing backs, Xuanhu and the others clenched their fists tightly. These bastards. Once Yuan Mo's revenge was launched, it would cause a huge commotion. Xuanhu and the others didn't have the strength to fight back. They had just entered the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin to cultivate for a while. He couldn't compare to Yuan Ma's influence and strength in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Xuanhu and the others clenched their fists tightly. It's all because we're too useless. If it weren't for this, they wouldn't have had to endure such humiliation. Furthermore, they had implicated Luo Qingtong and made her the target of ridicule. If they were strong enough and could directly enter the top 100 of the Soaring Dragon list, they wouldn't be afraid of Yuan Mo and the others. No matter how much the Grand Elder of the Sacred Academy valued tradition and rules, he wouldn't order them to drop out. They could even have the right to talk to the mentors of the Sacred Institute like the Heavenly Palace's Dragon Group. Xuanhu and the others gritted their teeth as they thought about it. He was still not strong enough. He had really lost face for boss. If the boss was here, Yuan Ma and the others wouldn't have any room to be arrogant. "Boss, where are you? Have you heard the news? Could he make it back in time?" The group of people bit their lips so hard that they bled. They clenched their fists tightly and pinched their fingers hard. There was an indescribable pain and suffering in his heart. There was both hatred and helplessness towards their own lack of strength, as well as worry and fear towards Luo Qingtong. If boss really didn't know about the news and couldn't rush back, thinking of the nasty words and arrogance that Yuan Ma and the others would say when the time came, the group was infuriated. At the same time, Luo Qingtong was also rushing towards the holy capital of the Empire of Qin at an extremely fast speed. "Your Highness, do you want to protect Ling Tianhan and the others?" In the holy capital of the Empire of Qin, a group of people gathered around Ma Chenyi in the Crown Prince's eastern palace, where the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin lived. They looked at the dragon of the Empire of Qin. These people were all heaven-grade students from the Heavenly Hall of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. Every one of them could be ranked in the top 100 of the Heaven ranking of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At this moment, they were all looking at the young man in front of them who was like a clear spring, quietly waiting for his decision. We'll see tomorrow, the elegant young man said slowly. This bet is no longer just about you One Ma wanting to make a move against the Ling siblings. It is also a battle between the elders of the Sacred Academy and the Grand Supreme Dean's faction. At the same time, his expression was indifferent. It's also because of the fight between me and Imo Qinshan. As Ma Qinyi said this, his eyes narrowed slightly. The cold light that was faintly discernible within them did not reveal itself. Most of the elders in the academy supported Imo Qinshan. As for the Grand Supreme Dean's faction, they supported him. Although the first elder of the Sacred Academy didn't support anyone, he still abided by tradition. Now it was obvious that he was being used as a weapon to attack the Grand Supreme Dean. After the Grand Supreme Dean was defeated, the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin would be completely under the control of the elders of the Sacred Academy. At that time, many students in the Sacred Academy would become Imo Qinshuan's followers. As the king of martial arts of the Empire of Qin, what did Imo Qinshan lack the most after his rise? Connections and power, and a background that was enough to compete with him. Once he controlled the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, all of these would no longer be a problem. Those students who graduated from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin were all outstanding figures in the Sacred Dynasty. Chapter 865. Except for a few peerless geniuses, all the powerhouses and ministers in the Empire of Qin came from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. If Imo Qinshan controlled the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, his power and foundation would be able to compete with Ma Qinyi. Therefore, it was no longer a question of whether Ma Qinyi could protect Ling Tianhan and the others. The question was that the Elders Association would definitely not allow him to protect them. If he had to protect them, there was only one way. That was, the Grand Dean had to take the blame and resign, admitting that he had made a mistake this time. In the future, he would not interfere with anything in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At the same time, as the disciple of the Grand Dean, the Dean had to accept some punishment. However, in this way the Grand Dean's power would completely collapse in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Without the Grand Dean, the Dean and the others could not withstand the pressure from the Elders Association. Therefore, Ma Qinyi could not make up his mind at all. The best way is that Luo Qingtong can come back smoothly. It would be best if she could win the bet. In this case, they could suppress the Elders Association of the Saint Academy. However, Ma Qinyi did not know whether Luo Qingtong could do it. After all, 3 days was really too short. If he guessed right, she should have gone back to the Chu after leaving the Empire of Tianyu. In such a short time, even if she received the news immediately, how could she come back immediately? Just as Ma Qinyi was thinking about this, he suddenly received a message. After reading that piece of news, Imo Qinye's elegant eyes suddenly burst out with an incomparably strong light. Afternoon tomorrow, if Luo Qingtong can't come back in time, try your best to protect her and the people around her. At all costs, he said in a low voice and crushed the message. It was sent by the Grand Supreme Dean. The message said that if Luo Qingtong couldn't make it back in time, he would lower his head to the Elders Guild and admit his mistake. He would protect the qualifications of Luo Qingtong and the people around her and ask Ma Qinyi for help. The Grand Principal actually had to make such a choice. He would rather lose his reputation in order to protect Luo Qingtong and the others. It must be known that with the prestige of the Grand Principal, even if Luo Qingtong couldn't make it back in time, no one could do anything to him. At most, some of his rights would be reduced. Now, he made such a choice because he wanted to exchange the Grand Supreme Dean's bloodline for Luo Qingtong and the others to stay in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Ma Qinye's estimation of Luo Qingtong was already high enough, but he didn't expect that the Grand Dean would be willing to make such a sacrifice for Luo Qingtong. Was that gorgeous and wanton girl really worth the Grand Dean's sacrifice? Ma Qinyi remembered the scene he saw in the Imperial Palace of the Empire of Tianyu. The girl was dressed in red, dazzling and domineering. Perhaps, she was really worth the Grand Supreme Dean using his bloodline to exchange for her? What, Your Highness? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Then, after knowing that this was the Grand Supreme Dean's decision, they suddenly fell silent. But their hearts were entangled with strong doubts. They didn't know what kind of ability Luo Qingtong and the others had that was worth the Grand Supreme Dean doing this. It must be known that this meant that the Grand Supreme Dean's bloodline was completely abolished. Under such circumstances, the Grand Supreme Dean still wanted to protect Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 866. Everyone thought so, their hearts were filled with doubt and dissatisfaction. Soon the next day arrived. It was also the last day of the 3-day agreement. If Luo Qingtong couldn't come back after noon, she would be expelled from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, along with the other students who came from the Tianyu Academy. First Elder was sure that Luo Qingtong couldn't come back. He wanted to let the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin know that the rules of the Saint Academy couldn't be violated, so he called all the students here. Almost all the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin gathered in the square of the Saint Academy, except for those who went out to practice and those who were in seclusion. Xuanhu and the others stood in the center of the square. First Elder led the members of the Saint Academy and stood not far in front of them. The Grand Dean led the Dean of the Saint Academy and the others to the left of Xuanhu and the others. The other places were filled with the students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yuan Su Jinyue and the others stood not far from First Elder and the others. Yuan was accompanied by Lu Long and the others, as well as some disciples of the Saint Dynasty of the Empire of Qin. Seeing Xuanhu and the others standing in the center of the square, he sneered. They deserve it. We will avenge the royal family of Tianyu. Today's battle is just the beginning. They won't know what despair is until they are expelled from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yuan Mo's face was cold. He looked at the man beside him and said, Haven't you found out the reason? Why did the Crown Prince suddenly help the Ling family? Why did they go to the Empire of Tianyu? Yuan Mo said with a gloomy face. He had sent people to deal with the Ling family. He thought it would be easy, but he didn't expect that the Ling family would be uprooted. Not only that, but King Wu's forces were also involved. He got the news that the envoys offended the Princess of Chu. What a joke. How could those people be so stupid as to offend the Princess of Chu? It seemed that the Crown Prince was purposely punishing the envoys. But Yuan Ma was more concerned about why the Crown Prince would suddenly attack. How could it appear in the Tianyu Empire? It said that the Crown Prince went out with the Grand Tutor for a walk and happened to pass by the Tianyu Empire. He saw them doing things in the name of the Holy Dynasty. The Grand Tutor is going to the Tianyu Empire to congratulate the newly crowned Princess of Great Chu. That person said. Ridiculous. Yuan Ma's voice was cold. What country is near the Tianyu Empire? How could a princess of the Great Chu appear in a place like the lower, middle, and upper tier countries? This is clearly just an excuse. Yuan Ma's eyes were clouded. If he guessed correctly, the Crown Prince and the others were coming for him? Or perhaps they were aiming for the Martial King Palace behind him. The Ling family was lucky to have been promoted to a commandery by the Crown Prince. But so what? The Crown Prince was already at the end of his rope. Sooner or later, King Wu would become the ruler of the Empire of Qin. At that time, he would have plenty of opportunities to slowly play with the Ling family. It was just a commandery. When he stood out in that grand meeting, not to mention a commandery, even the four holy dynasties would have to treat him with respect. At that time he would definitely avenge the Tianyu imperial family. He wouldn't even let that evil Dr. Ghost Eye go. Now, they actually wanted to threaten him with the opportunity to stay behind? Luo Qingtong has seriously violated the rules of the Holy Academy by asking for leave for so many days. No mercy is allowed. The first elder of the Sacred Academy said coldly. He looked at Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju and said, Since you want to accompany her so much, then let's go together. No one is allowed to plead for them anymore. As soon as Luo Wu arrives, Luo Qingtong and the people around her will all be kicked out of the Sacred Academy. The first elder of the Sacred Academy shouted with a cold face. Ah! In the direction of Yuan Ma and the others, Su Jinyue sneered at once. Even if the people of the Black Field came to break into the Saint Academy, as long as Ming Zun didn't come in person, they wouldn't be able to stop them. While everyone was thinking about this, the Grand Elder on the other side was furious. Bastard! How dare anyone come to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and behave atrociously? I'd like to see who on earth is. Before he could finish his sentence, a few figures suddenly flew towards the crowd with a loud bang. The next second, these people fell in front of the Grand Elder and the other people of the Saint Academy. There was a burst of wailing everywhere. These people were the guards outside the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. After these people smashed into the ground, a clear and loud sound rang out from not far away. Chapter 869. As he spoke, a fiery red figure slowly stepped into everyone's line of sight. The girl's body seemed to be wrapped in a layer of flames. Her swaying body was like a stamen in the flame. She was extremely beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, and her lips were as red as fire. Her skirt was swaying like a fiery red lotus swaying in the wind. As soon as Luo Qingtong appeared, she captured everyone's attention. Everyone looked at the girl who seemed to have stepped out of endless flames, and their eyes flashed with amazement. Ma Chengyi, who had just arrived, was even more excited. Luo Qingtong. Who are you? The first elder of the Saint Academy looked at the stunningly beautiful girl in front of him suspiciously. Was she also a student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? She was so talented and powerful. Why didn't he have any impression of her? Even if she was a student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she shouldn't be so arrogant. She even injured the guards of the Saint Academy. She had gone too far. Thinking of this, the first elder of the Saint Academy suddenly scolded her harshly. Since you are a student of the Saint Academy, you should follow the rules of the Saint Academy. How could you injure the guards outside? Before his voice had died away, Su Xiaoxiao and the others had rushed up excitedly. Boss. Boss. You're back. They were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had thought that they couldn't stop the first elder from driving them out of the Saint Academy, nor could they protect Luo Qingtong's qualification to enter the Saint Academy. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would come back at this time. The group of people laughed and jumped, surrounding Luo Qingtong with indescribable joy and excitement. Everyone present, except for the Grand Dean and Ma Chengyi, was stunned, including Yuan Ma. Luo Qingtong? Someone exclaimed in a low voice. Looking at the beautiful girl surrounded by Su Xiaoxiao and the others, he was shocked and shocked. Oh my god. The domineering and alluring girl in front of him was actually Luo Qingtong, the girl who was rumored to have entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin through the back door. She was also extremely arrogant and didn't know her own identity. She even asked for half a year's leave before coming to the Saint Academy? Wasn't it said that Luo Qingtong was only the legitimate daughter of a marquis from a small inferior country? His talent and strength were only average and he wasn't much of a person. But now, looking at the young girl in front of them, looking at her domineering and proud bearing, everyone simply couldn't imagine that she was just a marquis from a small and inferior country. Most likely, even the legitimate daughters of the great clans in the Holy Dynasty could not compare to her, right? Luo Qingtong's charm was not inferior to the ordinary noble ladies of the Holy Dynasty. No, there was still a chance of victory. If Su Xiaoxiao and the others hadn't exposed her identity, they wouldn't have known that she was the girl they had been waiting for. He was also the main character of this 3-day agreement. Luo Qingtong? She is actually Luo Qingtong? Yuan Ma looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. He hadn't seen Luo Qingtong for a long time. Every time he passed by the eastern border country, he had no interest in seeing his nominal fiancée. Come to think of it, he and Luo Qingtong had not seen each other for almost 10 years. The girl's face was completely out of his expectation. Thinking that Luo Qingtong was called the most beautiful girl in the eastern border country, he thought that people from the inferior country were ignorant. Luo Qingtong might not be comparable to the legitimate daughters of the great clans in the Tianyu Empire. But now it seemed that Luo Qingtong was more than comparable. Since the first elder of the Sacred Academy dared to make a move against the people around her, he could only wait to be humiliated. The Grand Supreme Dean was gloating over his misfortune. What did I do wrong? Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She patted Su Xiaoxiao and others on the shoulders, telling them not to worry. Then she looked up at the first elder of the Holy Academy. She glanced at the people present and sneered, "Didn't you ask me to come back as soon as possible in the 3-day appointment? I was stopped at the gate of the Holy Academy. In order to avoid missing the time, I naturally had to make a move." In fact, the guards outside the Holy Academy were on good terms with Su Jingyue and others. After hearing Luo Qingtong's identity, they immediately ridiculed her and tried to stop her. Chapter 871. The Rules of the Sacred Academy? If others obeyed the rules, she would obey them too. If others didn't obey the rules and wanted to force her to obey them, they would be dreaming. Luo Qingtong walked to the guards who had been blown to the square by her. She lifted her foot and stomped on one of the guards' hands fiercely. The smile on her lips was indescribably evil and bloodthirsty. "I'm starting to suspect that you didn't want me to come back from the very beginning, so you arranged this show on purpose. But now it seems that the play is not good. It's a bad play." Luo Qingtong's smile was cold. The first elder of the Sacred Academy was so angry that his beard trembled. "How dare you? How could we do such a dirty and shameless thing? What's more, even if you come back, so what? I made a bet with the Grand Dean that I still need you to improve your strength. Unless your strength improves and proves that your practice outside is not inferior to your practice in the Sacred Academy, your qualification to enter the Sacred Academy will be revoked. Get out of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, together with these unruly people around you." This is not a place where you can go through the back door. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes instantly. First Elder of the Sacred Academy, you keep saying that I'm impudent and go through the back door. I want to ask you, how am I impudent? How am I going through the back door? Is it impudent that I hurt the people who tried to stop me from entering the Sacred Academy and made them deserve it? Or is it impudent that I made your wishful thinking fail? As for going through the back door, tell me, where is the evidence? Luo Qingtong's smile was evil and cold. In terms of eloquence, 100 First Elders of the Sacred Academy were no match for her. Luo Qingtong was hunted down in her previous life. When she couldn't defeat her opponent, she almost angered her opponent to death with her words. Over the years, as her pupil sorcery became more and more powerful, she stopped talking when she could fight. But it didn't mean that she couldn't talk. The First Elder of the Sacred Academy's chest heaved and his face turned red after hearing her words. That was all because he was angry. I won't quibble with you. If you really have the ability, show me your strength. If you really improve your strength, I'll admit that I've wronged you. Your leave is valid, and their qualification to enter the Sacred Academy will be preserved. Otherwise, all of you can scram. The First Elder of the Sacred Academy's strength. He didn't believe Luo Qingtong's strength improve. The strength that the other party had submitted was that of a mid-level martial king. First for the Elder of Academy in the future with Young with Eli Senior of the Emperor of Yus. Moreover, if the First Elder and other people of the Saint Academy bowed their heads to them, it would completely wash away the grievances that Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao had suffered during this time. No matter how one looked at it, Luo Qingtong's conditions were just right. This young girl was truly clever and quick-witted. But could she win? Ma Chenyi thought of how Luo Qingtong and Master Luo won the competition in the Great Chu Imperial Palace, no matter how much he inquired. Especially the news about Luo Qingtong, which was even more suppressed. Could it be that she could really win the bet with the First Elder of the Saint Academy? Pack up your things and get the hell out of the Empire of Qin with your people. The First Elder of the Sacred Institute was confident of winning. He didn't believe that this Luo Qingtong was really that talented. If that was the case, why was the other party so unknown? Moreover, it was said that she had cheated to get into the trash class of the Tianyu Branch Academy. If such a student hadn't hooked up with the evil Dr. Ghost Eye and the Black Field, how could she have entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? It was said that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye had destroyed Yuanma's family, the royal family of Tianyu. As Yuanma's fiancée, Luo Qingtong still hooked up with the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She was really heartless. He was going to get rid of such a black sheep today. He would get rid of all the people around her. Luo Qingtong, just say whether you dare or not. If you dare. Chapter 874. He looked at the girl in front of him in shock. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Not only him. So were all the people present. The peak of the martial king realm. A student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, who had gathered in front of the square to watch the fun, was stunned by the aura that erupted from Luo Qingtong's body. He instantly gasped. My God! The peak of the martial king realm. Luo Qingtong's strength had really advanced to the peak of the martial king realm. Everyone was shocked to see Luo Qingtong's strength. The medium martial king realm, the advanced martial king realm, the peak of the martial king realm. Luo Qingtong's strength increased from weak to strong. Almost without any hindrance, her strength rose to the peak of the martial king realm in an instant. This kind of strength increase was extremely smooth. The aura around her was smooth and solid. It was clear that she didn't suddenly advance or forcibly. Luo Qingtong had asked for leave and didn't come back. The strength that she had improved was actually not inferior to that of the outstanding students of the heaven grade of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Seeing this scene, the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were all stunned. What kind of valiant talent was this? Luo Qingtong's strength was actually not inferior to that of the top geniuses of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin without the same resources and guidance. Just as everyone was shocked, Luo Qingtong's aura had risen to the peak of the martial king realm. Just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong's strength and aura would be fixed there, Luo Qingtong's aura suddenly rose. The martial royal realm. Looking at the girl's aura, the people around the square were all speechless. Except for the Grand Dean, who had already known that Luo Qingtong had reached the martial royal realm after the battle with Fenghuan, everyone else was extremely shocked. Especially Yuanma. He looked at the center of the square. She was surrounded by an aura. She was like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. For the first time in his life, he regretted not asking about her. In 3 months, he had advanced from the intermediate martial king realm to the martial royal realm. No matter what method Luo Qingtong used, it was enough to make her one of the most dazzling geniuses of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Previously he had really misjudged him. Just as Yuan Mo was filled with regret, Ma Chenye's eyes lit up. Luo Qingtong's increase in strength was completely beyond his expectations. When they first met in the Qianyu Empire, Ma Chenye didn't have a clear view of his strength because he had used the power of the Empire of Qin's decree. Only now did they know that this Chu saintly conferred princess, who was able to rival the first princess of Great Yong, possessed of valiant strength and talent. He looked deeply at Luo Qingtong. As for the grand principal beside him, he had been holding it in for so long and could finally laugh out loud. Ah, great elder. The elders of the Sacred Institute. How's Luo Qingtong's strength? Did she use some method to improve her strength? Speaking of this, he glanced at the pale Su Jinyue with a mocking look. Then he said loudly, "Okay, apologize quickly." Ah, little Luo. Come here quickly. Where are the great elder of the Holy Academy and the others? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As soon as the Grand Principal said this, the faces of the great elder and the others turned green instantly. In particular, not only did they have to bow their heads and apologize to Luo Qingtong, but they also had to apologize to Su Xiaoxiao and the others. This was even more uncomfortable than killing the great elder and the others. Luo Qingtong smiled slightly and led Su Xiaoxiao and the others over. The latter and the others were elated and proud. The great elder of the Holy Academy held his breath and apologized to Luo Qingtong and the others one by one. Chapter 875. She walked towards Yuanma. Seeing her actions, everyone was stunned. At the same time, they suddenly remembered the relationship between Luo Qingtong and Yuanma. These two people were fiancé and fiancée. Before Luo Qingtong was admitted to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, before Luo Qingtong was well known, no one knew that she was Yuanma's fiancé. The latter didn't mention anything about Luo Qingtong. It was only later that people slowly heard rumors that the two of them were engaged. At that time, the people of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin didn't know Luo Qingtong's strength and talent. In addition, Luo Qingtong had taken so many days of leave and had a bad reputation in the Tianyu Branch Academy. Everyone felt sorry for Yuanma. They thought that he was really unlucky to have a fiancé like Luo Qingtong. But now it seemed that it wasn't just unlucky. It was clearly a great blessing. Looking at the beautiful and talented young lady, everyone present was filled with envy and jealousy towards Yuanma. It was said that Luo Qingtong was deeply in love with Yuanma in Dongli country. Now she followed him all the way to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. She didn't care if she was misunderstood. She must be deeply in love with Yuanma. It really made people jealous. Not only people thought so, but Yuanma also thought so. He remembered that when he was young he often went to Dongli country to get rid of the cold poison in his body. At that time Luo Qingtong, who was just 2 years old and couldn't remember anything, followed him and called him Brother Mo. When he was a little older, the cold poison in his body was completely removed. Luo Qingtong's mother disappeared, so he didn't go to Dongli country much. But at that time it was Luo Qingtong who went to the Tianyu Empire. But at that time he was annoyed and didn't want a fiancé from an inferior country. He didn't want to talk to her at all. After that, Luo Qingtong spent less and less time in the Tianyu Empire. After that, he heard that she was known as the #1 beauty of the Eastern Fence country, and then the #1 genius of the Luo clan and even the entire Eastern Fence country. But at that time, he had already begun to set his sights on the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. He simply scoffed at Luo Qingtong's achievements. However, he had never expected that this young girl whom he had disdained to even spare a glance at would actually shine with a light that was even more dazzling than his own. In a way that no one had expected, she would appear in the Grand Qin Sacred Academy and stand in front of him. Although Luo Qingtong ruined his plan. However, Yuanma felt that as long as Luo Qingtong knew her mistake and immediately drew a clear line between her and the Ling siblings, he would let bygones be bygones. No matter what, she was his fiancée, the woman he was going to marry. Chapter 876. When Yuanma first came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, she had taken a liking to him. For this reason she begged her father to accept Yuanma. And Yuanma did indeed live up to her expectations. In just a short year he had already become the fastest growing student in their academy. He was also one of the most powerful geniuses under her father's tutelage. Su Jinyue knew that Yuanma had a fiancé, but she didn't care at all. How could a mere daughter of a marquis from a low-level country be compared to her? She probably wasn't even fit to carry her shoes. Su Jinhua had never taken Luo Qingtong seriously. But now, looking at the gorgeous and dazzling girl opposite her, Su Jinhua's heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. "Senior brother, have you forgotten? She's in cahoots with the Ling siblings," she shouted at Yuanma. The latter ignored her and walked directly to Luo Qingtong. "Qingtong." Yuanma looked at the girl in front of him with deep eyes. "I'm very happy that you came to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find me." His words were spoken with a sense of superiority and superiority. It was as if Luo Qingtong coming to find him was something worth bragging about. In fact, it was so. Looking at the jealous eyes of the surrounding people, it was obvious how enviable it was to be able to win Luo Qingtong's heart, especially since she was beautiful and had good qualifications. However, just as Yuanma spoke, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. "Yuanma, since you're here, let's settle this matter together." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she took out a letter of annulment and a royal jade pendant from her sleeve and threw them in front of Yuanma. 13 years ago, the royal family of Tianyu and the Luo family set up an engagement. Now, Yuanma, we're annulling the engagement. Now we've gone our separate ways. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Luo Qingtong's move left Yuanma completely dumbfounded. He still had a reserved and handsome smile on his face. At this moment, because of the annulment letter and imperial jade pendant thrown by Luo Qingtong, the veins on the back of his hands bulged. He clenched his fists fiercely and looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold gaze. Luo Qingtong's words simply put Yuanma's face on the ground and stepped on it. In front of so many people in the Great Qin Sacred Academy, Yuanma had just said those arrogant and condescending words. In the blink of an eye, he was slapped in the face by Luo Qingtong's annulment letter. He thought that she had come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find him and was deeply in love with him. However, Luo Qingtong did come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin to find him, but she came to break off the engagement. Yuanma's expression instantly became very ugly. "Qingtong, don't make trouble." He squeezed out these words from between his teeth with a dark face. "If there's anything, we can slowly talk about it later. I admit that I paid attention to you before and neglected you, but isn't it pardonable for cultivation? Don't be willful." As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong looked at him with a mocking expression. "Does this man think I'm stupid?" "That's right. This man still thinks I'm the Luo Qingtong from before. The Luo Qingtong who was deeply in love with him and wouldn't marry anyone but him. It's a pity that when she transmigrated and found that the people who came to kill her were sent by Tianyu's imperial family, the heart of the original host had already died. Luo Qingtong said that she would get revenge for the other party and the Luo family. Does Yuanma still think that she still has feelings for him?" Luo Qingtong looked at Yuanma with a sneer. Her expression was indifferent. "Yuanma, don't say so much. There's nothing to say between us." Chapter 878. "Yuanma, you can't be so shameless. Who said the marriage was decided by the parents and the matchmaker? The elders of both sides agreed to cancel the marriage. So what if you don't agree?" Little Overlord Yuan yelled, not giving Yuanma any face at all. "Didn't you despise our boss before? Why, are you regretting it now that our boss is so powerful? Let me tell you, no way. Not even a window." Little Tyrant Yuan looked at Yuanma with indescribable disdain. The others looked at Yuanma with different expressions. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. "Yuanma, I'll make a bet with you." She looked coldly at the man with a dark face and mocked him. "I'll challenge you in a month. If you win, I'll never mention the cancellation of the marriage again. If you lose, immediately take out the marriage token of the Luo family and get out of my sight. How about it? Do you dare to compete?" Luo Qingtong's voice sounded and everyone was shocked. "Challenge? Luo Qingtong and Yuanma? Boss, this won't do." Little Tyrant Yuan, who was mocking Yuanma with all his might, couldn't help but cry out when he heard this. "Boss, you don't know, but Yuanma is already a martial emperor." Little Tyrant Yuan and the others were anxious. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Luo Qingtong's strength. After all, she had killed a novice martial emperor in the imperial family of Tianyu. But the situation now was different. When Luo Qingtong killed the expert who had just entered the martial emperor realm, she was already injured. Little Tyrant Yuan and the others knew that the imperial family of Tianyu had inexplicably offended an expert above the martial saint realm and had their treasury raided. The martial emperor in the imperial family of Tianyu had been seriously injured at that time and hadn't recovered yet. Under such circumstances, the expert who had just entered the martial emperor realm that Luo Qingtong had killed was actually not that powerful. Moreover, Yuanma wasn't an ordinary martial emperor. He was also a soul cultivator, possessing the rare soul seal spirit body. His strength was more than several times that of an ordinary martial emperor. Luo Qingtong had just advanced to the martial emperor stage. How could she be a match for Yuanma? The group was very anxious, but Luo Qingtong looked at Yuanma calmly and said, "Yuanma, do you dare to do it? If you don't have the guts, you can just accept the annulment letter. Give me back my Luo clan's token." At this point, she said with a mocking expression, "I forgot to tell you that even if you tear up one of the annulment papers, I still have dozens of them here. You can tear them up however you want." Luo Qingtong said as she took out a stack of annulment papers and threw them on the ground. With the Empress of Tianyu in her hands, she could Luo Qingtong sign as many annulments as she wanted, even if Yuan Mo were to tear everything in front of him apart. Luo Qingtong still had some. Yuan Mo's eyes were red as he looked at the annulment papers thrown by Luo Qingtong. He felt that his face had been ruthlessly thrown to the ground and stepped on by Luo Qingtong. How much did this woman want to annul the engagement with him? How could she write so many annulment papers? Yuan Mo's chest heaved up and down in anger. Then he threw out a few words. "Okay. I'll be waiting for you in a month." Chapter 879. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Luo girl, you're a bit impulsive." The Grand Dean walked up to her and said, "You're very strong, but Yuanma isn't an ordinary person. Just leave it to me to deal with the situation just now. I'm sure he'll be obedient and break off the engagement for you. Why do you have to make a bet with him?" The Grand Dean frowned. Luo Qingtong had the annulment letter in her hand. He could step forward in this situation. "It's all right, Grand Dean. I know what I'm doing." Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She could indeed ask the Grand Dean to step in and force Yuanma to break off the engagement. But what if Yuanma got angry and made a mistake with the engagement token? Luo Qingtong couldn't take this risk. She wanted Yuanma to take out the engagement token himself. Luo Qingtong and the others left the square. Su Xiaoxiao and the others had a lot to say to Luo Qingtong. The Grand Dean didn't disturb them. He still had a lot of things to do. This time, Luo Qingtong came back and suppressed the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute. It was really cool. Originally, the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute had begun to take over the rights of the Grand Dean and the other presidents. The reason was that they had arbitrarily changed the rules of the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin and abused their power for personal gain. Now, the Grand Dean wanted to cooperate with his disciple and take back all those rights. Not only that, but he also wanted to take over some of the rights of the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute and the Elders Association. After all, they were so blind to persecute a genius like Luo Qingtong. It really made people doubt their ability. Originally, the Great Elder of the Sacred Institute had the upper hand. But now Luo Qingtong reversed everything. The Grand Dean left with a smile. Ma Chenyi also took a deep look at Luo Qingtong and withdrew from the crowd. He came from behind and Luo Qingtong did not notice him at all. This time Luo Qingtong came back in time. The Grand Principal and the others were not the only ones who benefited. Many of the decorations in Ma Chenyi could no longer be used. Furthermore, the reason that King Wu and the others used to attack the Grand Supreme Dean and the others was no longer there. Ma Chenyi could now free up the time to deal with them. He would come back to see Luo Qingtong after he had solved some of his problems. He believed that the girl would not disappoint him. The peaceful Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin was probably going to stir up a storm because of Luo Qingtong's arrival. He was really looking forward to it. There was a faint smile on Imo Chenye's lips. But soon he thought of the hidden danger in his body. His gaze instantly turned cold. The person behind Imo Chenxian was too well hidden. No matter how hard Ma Chenyi tried to investigate, he couldn't find any clues at all. If it went on like this, the dragon chi in his body would not be able to hold on. But he didn't know if it was his illusion, but the dragon chi in his body didn't seem to be absorbed like before. Ma Chenyi looked down at his body in confusion. Finally, he didn't think too much and left with the people around him. And the others also left one after another. However, the name of Luo Qingtong was well known in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Almost everyone knew that there was going to be another rare genius in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong followed Su Xiaoxiao and others out. The group of people looked worried because of the bet between Luo Qingtong and Yuan Mo. Chapter 880. She looked at them and said, "That's enough. Don't talk nonsense. There's still a month before the battle. Are you so sure that I'll lose?" Hearing her words, Su Xiaoxiao and the others' minds became much more active. Yes. Boss had always been capable of doing what others couldn't. 1 month. Maybe when Boss's strength improved, she would beat Xuanhuan until he cried for his parents. As the group of people thought about this, they immediately became spirited again. "Boss, don't worry. I'm very familiar with the body refining facilities in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. At that time, we'll give you all our resources and you can improve your strength. At that time you'll beat that bastard Xuanma to death." Yes. Su Xiaoxiao also clenched her fists and said, "Boss, I have a lot of medicinal materials and can apply for all kinds of resources. I'll give them all to you at that time. Before, you could improve your strength so much without cultivating in the academy. This time, you'll definitely become more powerful when you return to the Saint Academy." The group cheered for Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong smiled and said, "Well, where are you staying? Take me there." As soon as she said that, Su Xiaoxiao and the others stopped talking. "What's wrong?" Feeling that their expressions were not right, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows instantly. "You don't want me to go?" Luo Qingtong said with a faint smile. Her eyes became a little cold in an instant. There was obviously a reason for Su Xiaoxiao and the others to change like this. Thinking of the scene when she just came back, Su Xiaoxiao and the others were surrounded in the middle and were about to be driven away at any time. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. "No." Su Xiaoxiao and the others hurriedly said. How could they dare to let Luo Qingtong misunderstand like this? But, alas, boss, we're sorry for your teaching. Little Overlord Yuan said dejectedly with his head hung low. When you didn't come back, those people from the heavenly palace of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin thought that you wouldn't come back, so they drove us out. At this point he clenched his fists tightly and lowered his head. Boss, I'm sorry. We've let you down. We've embarrassed you. Before he could finish, Ling Tianhan's voice rang out beside him. You can't blame them for this. Boss, this is all my and yours fault. Ling Tianhan clenched his fists, his fingers digging into his palms. Those people were arranged by Xuanma and the others. They came for me and you. After we were chased out of the heavenly palace, the ones who replaced us as heaven-rank students and moved into our place were Lu Long and the others. They followed Yuan Mo to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. My hand was crippled by the Lu clan before this. This time Lu Long crippled my hand again. They took over our heaven-rank students' quota and living quarters just to slap you, and me in the face. At this point, Ling Tianhan was suddenly interrupted by Luo Qingtong. Where are they? Where are they? Boss. Su Xiaoxiao and the others looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. Boss was, what? Your people were beaten up. You know that you've embarrassed me, but you don't know how to get back at them? Is this what I taught you before? Luo Qingtong looked at them coldly. She didn't care who sent those people or who they were targeting. She only knew that her people were beaten up, and they were chased out of the heavenly palace. Now that they had regained their status as heaven-rank students, of course they had to get back at them. Moreover, those people were sent by Yuanma to target Ling Tianhan and the others. It's a pity that I didn't get to see them in such a sorry state. Yes, that would be awesome. It was also Ling Tianhan and the rest who had dug their own graves. They thought that they were invincible just because they had evil Dr. Ghost Eye with them. He even wanted to use Luo Qingtong to deal with the fifth prince, but in the end the fifth prince removed the firewood from under his cauldron. One of the disciples from the Tianyu Empire who entered the Empire of Qin with Yuanma laughed. But we still have to thank them. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have been so lucky to enter the Sky Palace. Chapter 882. Look at this dormitory. It's a courtyard like a manor and there are qi gathering arrays in it. It's for students to practice. And it can be moved and put together at will. We're lucky to be able to live here. There was a place where Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju lived. Both of them have excellent courtyards. It's a pity that it's ours now. While they were talking, the gate of the courtyard was suddenly blasted open with a bang. Who is it? The group of people immediately stood up and shouted sternly. At the same time they were shocked. The courtyard of the heaven-grade students' dormitory was protected by an array. Ordinary experts of the Saint realm couldn't break it open. The Saint Academy had spent a lot of effort to set up this array in the courtyards of the dormitory to ensure the safety of the heaven-grade students. The hub of the array was directly connected to the main defensive array of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. It was almost unshakable. How could there be someone outside who could break open the gate of their courtyard? While they were thinking, they suddenly saw the people who rushed in from outside the gate of the courtyard. Then they sneered. Yo, it's you? Seeing Xuanhu and others coming in from the gate of the courtyard, the disciples of the Qianyu Empire who followed Lu Long said with disdain. What? Is there any trash left? It's already past noon. Your boss, Luo Qingtong, hasn't come back yet? Xuanhu, what do you want us to say? Recommending a daughter of the Marquis's mansion from an inferior country to be your boss? You're really something. And that person is the fiancé of His Highness the Fifth Prince. Ah. In order to deal with His Highness the Fifth Prince, you've really tried your best. Unfortunately, His Highness the Fifth Prince doesn't buy it. Even if Luo Qingtong kneels on the ground and licks His Highness the Fifth Prince may not even look at her. You people, together with evil Dr. Gui Tong, have all made a mistake. What else haven't you taken? Take it and get out. Don't disturb us. Really? Following these words, Luo Qingtong stepped out from behind Xuanhu and the others with an indifferent expression and bloodthirsty eyes. So no one wants me even if I kneel and lick their boots? The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. Boss, let's not lower ourselves to the level of an idiot. These people didn't go to the square at all. They didn't see you when Mo's shameless face that refused to break off the engagement no matter what. Who is the one kneeling and licking who? Xuanhu and the others sneered. When they heard the other party's description of Luo Qingtong, their hearts were filled with anger. They couldn't wait to tear the other party to pieces. In order to please Yuanma and Su Jinue, these scumbags really dared to say anything. What infuriated them even more were the two students who had entered the Great Qin Sacred Academy at the same time as them. They were from the Qianyu Academy. At that time, Luo Qingtong and the others took the top 8 places. These two students were the last 2 places. When they had just entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, they had sought refuge from Xuanhu and the others. Xuanhu and the others had also entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin at the same time and were in the same academy, so they had taken care of them a lot. Now those two people were together with the people around Lu Long, ridiculing them without leaving any room for decency. Xuanhu and the others were really angry. Seeing the girl who stepped out from behind Xuanhu and the others, the two students from Qianyu Academy were also shocked. Luo Qingtong. Chapter 883. What? Hearing the words of the two students from Qianyu Academy, the people in the courtyard were all shocked. This beautiful and devilishly charming girl was actually Luo Qingtong, who they had been mocking every day. They looked at the girl in front of them in shock. They felt that she was not what they had heard. Who said that Luo Qingtong was ordinary and that she was born in a low-level country like Dongli and was not presentable at all. If such a girl was not presentable, then most of the girls in the Qianyu Empire and even the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin were peasant women? The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. At this moment, someone suddenly remembered that if Luo Qingtong came back, Xuanhu and the others would not have to leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and the Heavenly Palace. Then why did they come back? Thinking of this, the people in the courtyard changed their expressions. One of the people who seemed to be the leader shouted, "Xuanhu, you have been expelled from the Heavenly Palace. Even if Luo Qingtong came back now, you have to find another residence to return to the Heavenly Palace." That's right. Another disciple of the Qianyu Empire also shouted, "This is where we live. This is the decision of the dragon group of the Heavenly Palace. You broke in like this. Are you going to go against the dragon group?" Before he could finish his sentence, Luo Qingtong had already lifted her foot and kicked him away. Bang! His body landed heavily on the ground and crashed into the gate of the courtyard at the back. Boom! The gate was knocked open, and before the crowd's gazes, it instantly shattered into pieces. "I'll give you 3 breaths of time." Luo Qingtong lifted her sleeves and brushed away the dust that was not on the tip of her shoes. She raised her head coldly and looked at the shocked crowd in front. "Get out of this manor and my sight. Otherwise you can forget about leaving." Luo Qingtong's words angered the people in front of her. The other party's words were too arrogant. "Luo Qingtong, don't be complacent. I'm afraid you don't know what the dragon group of the Heavenly Palace is. His Highness King Wu won't let you do whatever you want." "That's right. Don't be afraid of her. Luo Qingtong has just come back from the Saint Academy. Even if her strength has improved, she can't do anything to us who have cultivated in the Saint Academy for 1 or 2 years. Attack. Let her know the consequences of offending us." "That's right. She forced us to attack her. At that time, even in front of the 5th prince, we will have something to say." Luo Qingtong's attack had angered them. They didn't even go to the square in front, so they didn't know how much Luo Qingtong's strength had grown. In their opinion, even if Luo Qingtong rushed back in time, so what if her strength increased by 1 level? He was at most an advanced martial king. But they were all at the peak of the martial king realm. They had already touched the threshold of the martial royal realm. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to the heavenly palace as Xuanhu's replacement. Of course, Yuanmao and Su Jinyue wanted to humiliate Ling Tianhan and the others, but it was also because they had the strength to do so. Otherwise, even if they went in through the back door, it would not be enough to convince the masses. This was why so many people were not convinced when Xuanhu and the others became heaven-grade students. In the eyes of most of the people in the heavenly palace, except for Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Ju, and Ling Tianhan who had his hand crippled before, they could barely be considered as qualified heavenly students. What right did the others have to appear in the heavenly palace with them? Luo Qingtong, you actually came back. Xuanhu and the others are really lucky. But even so, you are not qualified to take back this courtyard. Lu Long sneered at Luo Qingtong. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.